Hi everyone, hope all of you are doing super well and doing good and really looking forward to the weekend. So am I. So in this video, I have a very super interesting, concept, which is the balance scorecard. And this information again is taken from the BABOK guide. So without any delay, let's get into it. So, before we get into what is this balanced scorecard, let us go through the history of performance measures. So, traditionally, when an organization wanted to understand how they are performing, they used financial indicators. And why was these financial indicators used is it was used because it worked well for all their physical assets. At that point in time, if you see organizations, they had mostly physical assets such as cash, they had machineries, they had equipments, buildings. All this was under the category of physical assets. So it did work well because they were able to populate them in the balance sheets and everything went fine. But if you see in recent trends in the last few decades, it's just not physical assets which tend to be an asset for an organization. If you see the employees, their customers, their products, capabilities, all this tends to be as assets for an organization. And all this cannot be reflected into a balanced sheet, as we all are well aware of. So that's why we have these two people. One is Robert Kaplan, who was a professor in the Harvard Management of Business School, and also we had David Norton, who was a managing consultant, who came up with a particular framework that helped organizations to monitor their indicators, their performance indicators, all in one single view. Okay, and that's how the balance scorecard came into existence. So if you see this balanced scorecard, now questions in your mind as to what is this balanced scorecard. So this balanced scorecard is a strategic planning and management tool which is used to measure the organizational performance. Okay, so I'll be showing you how is this balanced scorecard, how it is structured and what are the different components. But this balanced scorecard as of now, just keep in mind, it is a balanced view of the enterprise because there are different components that you get to see in one view. Okay, and it's totally outcome based and it can be built at any level in an organization. So you can build a balanced scorecard at an organization level, you can build it at a department level, and also you can build it at a project and initiative level. Okay, so that's the different levels in which you can actually construct and use this balanced scorecard. So, have you ever seen a monitoring machine, maybe in an ICU or in an hospital? So you would notice that there are different metrics that it's kind of populating up regarding the patient's health status. So you see there's ECGs, there's metrics regarding the oxygen, the heartbeat. So much is over there, everything in one consolidated view. And imagine having something like this for your business in order to track different metrics of different components. Okay, so that's what the balance scorecard helps us to do. So if you see the structure of the balanced scorecard, there are four components, as I mentioned. The first component is the traditional financial component. You also have a component for the customer, you have a learning and growth component, and internal business process component. So you must be wondering, why are all these components here? Think about it. Okay, for an organization, apart from being financially stable, how are they financially stable? What do they depend on? So customers are going to be their most primary users. Okay, and the people who are going to contribute to the success of an organization, because customers kind of consume the services and products of the organization, which in turn brings in revenue and profits for the organization. So if you want to have a good customer base, so now can you see how does financial link with customers over here? So think about it now. A customer, how Do they tend to love the service, love the products that you're providing? How are they, tending to get satisfied with whatever you offer them? So it's all tied up to the internal business processes of an organization. If everything is effective, everything is seamless and perfectly well, then that's going to result in happy customers and an happy business, and in a well executed and maintained and managed business. So of course then the company needs to be, aware of how is their internal processes performing. And the next one is learning and growth. So, how does an organization keep up with the changing trends, disruptive technologies, with feedbacks, with things changing about, with change coming into the picture? How does all this happen? Of course, the organization needs to be in a stage and at level where there's constant learning and growth that is happening. So, all this tends to link with each other in order to make the organization perform at its utmost level, okay, at the maximum performance level. And if you see all these four components, they are very well closely associated with the vision and the strategy of an organization. Now I'm saying vision and strategy of an organization because I'm speaking to you of building this balanced scorecard at an organization level. But if you're building it for a department or for a project level, then you should be focusing and tying all these components back to the vision and the strategy of the project level or the department level respectively. Okay, so within these four components, if you see, the financial component focuses on to succeed financially, how should we appear to stakeholders? So that's what the financial component is about. When you look at the customers, it's all about to achieve our vision. How should we appear to the customers? We should be appearing to customers as a reliable organization, a trustworthy organization, an organization of quality. Different aspects could be there, but ultimately the crux of this component is about how do we appear to our customers. And the next component is internal business processes. So, what you need to focus on here is to satisfy our stakeholders and customers, what business processes must we excel at? So, this helps the organization to look into ways as to excel and improve their business process efficiencies. And the last one is learning and growth. So, it's all about to achieve our vision, how will we sustain our ability to change and improve? So this is all the four components, and if you notice within every component there are four common sub-components within these components, I could say. So you have objectives, you have measures, you have targets and initiatives. So within every component you can set up objectives, measures, targets and initiatives, which I will first go through with an example, and then we can relate it back to how these four measures can be associated with every component. Okay, so coming on to the next one, balanced scorecard. So let's go about this with an example. Cool. So imagine you're starting a fresh juice business, okay? And when you start a fresh juice business, your entire vision and your aim is to, provide the best fresh juices in town, okay? So that's going to be your ultimate goal, and you want to, attain as maximum, customers adapting to this fresh juice. So if you see your balance scorecard, how is it going to look like let's say at the business level? Okay, the very first component or the perspective is the financial component. So probably you would want to track what is my revenue and what is the net profit that I am making. Okay, so that's where you can set up KPIs, measures that would help you to answer questions in your financial component area. Now, in order for you to get a good business, for you to have good profits, of course, it all depends on customers. So now when you look at the customer component, you're more focused on my customers need to be satisfied and I should have a good adoption. Okay, so this is an example. It doesn't always need to be the same metrics. Okay, I'm just talking at an example level for my fresh juice business. Okay, so when I focus on customers, I am so interested in what is my customer satisfaction, and also what is the customer adoption. So when I see really positive indicators of these two metrics, then I can be damn sure that this is going to contribute to my profits, my business profits. Okay, now in order, we have covered the customer component. Now for my customers to be satisfied, for me to gain more adoption of customers, what should happen? Of course, I need to be focusing on my internal business processes. And how do I know that my processes are well efficient and my business is running smoothly? Let's say I want to look into the number of complaints and what is going to be the wait time. So if I know that complaints are quite less, wait time is also less, then I can be sure that of course my fresh juice business is going to always have customers, people are satisfied with it, there are less complaints, which means that I'm giving good quality service, and also the wait time is less, so that I'm able to accommodate more customers. Okay, so this is what I want to track. And next is for my operations, my business processes to run well. Tongue slip. Okay, so for my processes to run well, what needs to happen? Of course, my employees, the people who work on these processes, who work in this business, they constantly need to keep learning and growing, learning new business tactics, techniques, learning new recipes. Okay, or either they need to be trained professionals, they need to be really good at making fresh juices, making combinational fresh juices, mocktails, stuff like that. So maybe I need to track how many of my employees are, who have been hired are trained employees, or how many of my employees are being trained. Okay, so by then I know that they are being trained and therefore they are able to, manage the business. So if you see here, I'm able to look at all these four components and understand how each component is performing. And it's very, 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 deeply, connected with one component, is very well associated and connected to another component. So whenever you try changing metrics of one component, then of course it might impact the other component, where you have to look into the metrics, which you have to kind of tweak, but it depends. Okay, but the thing that you need to keep in mind here is that whenever you try changing one component KPIs, it might affect another one, so you have to look at a whole at all the components APIs. So now that we got an example with how do you set these KPIs for every component, let us go back to the previous diagram that I showed you, where there were measures, initiatives, targets, and objectives for every component, and how you can set that up. So let's say that I have these four components. For example's sake, let's say that I'm going with the customer component. Okay, so let's say I want a good customer satisfaction and I want a good adoption of customers for my fresh juice business. So I can set up an objective saying that I want to gain a good traction and I want to aim at good customer satisfaction. So in order for good customer satisfaction and adoption, what I need to measure? I need to measure how satisfied my customers are, which is why we set up the KPIs and metrics. And the second one was how, are my customers adopting to my business? Are there a lot of adoptions to the business or not? So now I can even set up targets. For example, in the next 2 months or in the next quarter, I want to gain 200 plus extra customers. Okay, so that could be your target that you can set. And initiatives, you can run multiple initiatives for this particular component as well, or for that particular target as well. So for example, in order to gain more customers, I should be maybe doing a little more of sales, a little bit more of, promotions, give them some little freebies, some discounts. All this is some could be different initiatives that I could start in order to achieve that particular objective. So in this way you can create multiple targets, initiatives for every component of your business. Okay, so with this in mind, I hope you're starting to see a little bit of how this balanced scorecard can help you in tracking different business indicators. Okay, so the next one that we would go with, and what I wanted to share with you, is indicators. Okay, there are two types of indicators. One is called a lagging indicator. So this lagging indicator, they provide results of actions that have already been taken. Okay, so let's say, for example, the number of issues that were being raised and how many issues that you resolved in your business. So these are actions that you have already taken, and you can't do much with all these different actions. You cannot do much of prediction with it, unlike the leading indicators. So what are leading indicators? Leading indicators, they provide information about the future performance. Okay, so let's take for example jobless claims. Okay, the US department, they kind of release these jobless claim metrics on a very regular basis of the number of people or citizens. Multiple countries have that, but I'm giving you an example of the number of citizens who do not have a job at a particular point of time. So, with this indicator, actually, why do we call it as a leading indicator? Because by understanding the trends of people who are not having jobs, it means that the economy is not able to provide jobs for the people. Okay, and it also shows that there is a declining economy, which definitely would have impacts on economy, stock markets, and stuff like that. So this is how we classify indicators to be leading as well as lagging indicators. Okay, and while everything seems to be really, good, this balance scorecard can help you in, planning out your strategy for the business, and how it also helps you to reach the vision of your particular business or the project or the department. There are some limitations in this. Okay, the very first one is a lack of a clear strategy. Okay, makes aligning the different dimensions very difficult. Okay, so if you don't have a strategy, you don't have a proper vision, then how are you going to define these different dimensions and measures for your business? So it's very key that you're very clear about your vision, about what strategy you need to go with, and then you would be able to define these different metrics for your business in order to start tracking and planning your future strategies as well. The next one is, it can be seen as a single tool for strategic planning rather than just one of the tools to be used in the suite of strategic planning tools. Okay, so it's not just this one tool that you should be using for strategic planning. Okay, it's just one among all the tools that you should be using. So don't mistake it and just say, let's go ahead and just use this balanced scorecard for strategic planning, which most of the people, they get have this misunderstanding, and that's what they do. So it can also be misinterpreted as a replacement for strategic planning, execution, and measurements. So it's not a replacement. Of course, you need to have some strategy management, execution, and measurements in place. This is going to be a framework that would give you that one single view and help you to manage the different indicators that would help you in your strategy planning. Okay, so keep that very clear in mind. And probably that's it for this video. So I don't know if I mentioned, this information again is taken from the BABOK guide, and this is a super interesting framework that you can use even if it's not going to be at a business level, but at a project level you can be doing it. And if you found this video helpful, please do give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe, and also do share your feedbacks. Thank you.